Welcome back to the podcast. And are you one of those people that feels like you're always running out of time? There's never enough time in the day to do everything. Well, we are in the right place. We are talking with Dana Malstaff, who is the founder of Boss Mom. She's the creator of the Nurture to Convert Society. She's a mother, author, podcaster, content strategist, template architect, blind spot reducer, engagement facilitator, and movement maker. And what does all that mean when combined? Well, here's what it means. She helps moms with beautifully unpredictable schedules grow successful and sustainable businesses that don't take up all their time and that keep working even when they have to step away to be a mom or any other important role. I'm glad that you made it, Dana. I know that it's been a hectic morning, but we're here. We'll have some fun.
Yeah. And that's the funny part about moms is this is a normal morning where the kids tell you something random's happening at school they forgot to tell you, and then we realized we didn't practice guitar before the guitar lesson is today, and all this coordination. It's the same thing. It's the same thing in our businesses. Our businesses are unpredictable. Life is unpredictable. And I think one of the important things is that we don't look at it as chaotic. The moment we start seeing the unpredictability, it equals chaos. And then chaos means I don't have control. And if I don't have control, then I don't know how to get results. Then all of a sudden it seems really hard to be a parent or run a business. And if we look at chaos as it's not chaos, chaos just means unpredictability. And we learn to be flexible and agile as a startup company would call itself, then all of a sudden it just becomes, I'm not stressed out. It's just a normal Friday morning. I just wasn't sure what was going to happen this morning, but I knew it was going to be something I wasn't expecting.
Oh, yeah, expect the unexpected. And this is the kind of thing that has been on my mind the last few years, just this whole idea of don't wish it was easier, wish you were better, don't wish you had less problems, have a more thicker skin or have the stronger muscle to be able to deal with what life tells you. My situation right now is I have a 15-month-old. Me and the wife, we both work from home. And so he's too young to be even going to school, but so much of life has already changed and we've had to have such a schedule. And we're already terrified about even preschool, kindergarten. And I can only imagine getting to your level of things with multiple kids, with multiple schools and dropping off and picking up in activities. And it seems so overwhelming already. So what would you have to say just right off the bat to anyone who's maybe in your situation or about to get into your situation? Is there like a number one or top two pieces of advice just in the first couple of minutes that we need to just like tattoo on our inner eyelids or something?
Yeah, there is a couple things. So, number one, I will just for you specifically, it gets better, right? Like I have a 6 and an 8-year-old, and the adorableness of a 15-month-old that is, probably starting to walk or, and they're rolling over, and every day they're doing something new for the first time. And it's very action oriented because their communication is limited. A 6 and an 8-year-old are coming to me with existential questions, right? We're getting into what they really enjoy, and they have the capacity and the brain capacity to go, I don't really like that, but I like this. And here's why. And here's how I feel about things. And this is what I'm experiencing in the world. We can play board games together and we can create things together. We're watching movies that I actually like together. So it just gets more fun. Like I can imagine travel. It used to be traveling was like, oh my gosh, I've got to prepare to go somewhere. And now it's like, I can't wait to experience things with my kids because they can reciprocate and experience back. As opposed to when they're younger, it's so much more of the newness, and the newness comes with a bunch of unpredictability, right? So the tips that I would say, there's a couple things. So number one is I constantly assess the things that I need to get done versus the things that are frustrating to get done when you have a child around or something happening around you. Because it's not always a kid. Sometimes it's you wake up and you just don't feel like it, right? Like sometimes it's our own emotions or our own whatever, or our in-laws or whatever it is. And so number one is I notice a lot of people will go, oh, I need to get all of this work done, so I break out my computer, but my child immediately sees that and wants to be all over my thing. Or I didn't want to do something in the afternoon, so I waited, but it's right at that witching hour where my child is a complete jerk face, right? Because they're in the between being like hungry and tired. And so they're just hangry. And so what we do is like you stop being in this space before you had other responsibilities like children and maybe mortgages and stuff like that when we were young. And it's like, well, I'll just stay up till 3 a.m. and I'll just bang that thing out. Well, maybe your kid's up at 3 a.m. because they didn't sleep well. Maybe, your whole day kind of got thrown out of whack. So first assessing the things that you used to be able to just do whenever, and recognize that some of those things can't be done when you have kids around, because either it takes too much mental capacity or it is disruptive because your kids want to interact and it becomes frustrating. And start going, when can I know what those things are and only do them when I know my child's down for a nap? Because then we can prioritize not our time, but our actions within the time that we have. And I think that's one of the really important things, because you can't just do anything anytime when kids are around. So we generally break things up into 3 different categories, which is low mental requirement, medium mental requirement, large mental. So large mental requirement would be, like I'm going to write a chapter in my book. I'm going to record a YouTube video. I'm going to, one of those things that takes all of your cunning to do, or all of your concentration. And the middle one might be reviewing something, a team member, that you need to review, or, going over an outline, creating an outline of something. You can have some distraction and still be able to get done. And the other one is, I just need to go online and engage with people in my community, right? You could have literally kids running around without, naked everywhere, and you'd still be fine. And so when I get up in the morning, I look at my schedule and and now my kids go to school, so it's a little easier. But before I would go, okay. And during the pandemic, it was, who knew what was going to be going on? So there are kids around all the time. And I would look and I'd fit things into those 3 buckets. And then I'd say, for each of the things I have to get done today, could I get it done in 10 minutes? And if I couldn't, then I would break the tasks down into, okay, if I have to write something, I'm going to say that one 10-minute task is outlining it. And the second 10-minute task is research for it. And the third, and I'd break it out so that as I went through the day, it's just like working out. Like I don't spend an hour working out, but I, throughout the day, do 10 push-ups here and 10 push-ups there and 20 squats while I'm making my coffee. And by the end of the day, I've done 100 of a lot of things. So you end up being productive in these in-between moments, because you never know when your kid's going to stay asleep, right? You never know when they're going to have a great day. And that means that you don't want to work because you want to hang out with them, or they're going to have a great day. And it means you get all this work done because they were, golf playing on their own. Like you just don't know. And so we have to plan for how much brain power it takes and how much time it takes, so we can actually be super productive in between moments. I think that's the key. That's the advice I would give.
And it's very reassuring, because especially the past year or so, so much has changed. This is my one and only kid. Here's hoping that I don't want to have any more, but still just one has changed so much. And sometimes I get a little bit introspective, and I think what happened to me? Like, am I getting old? Why can't I do the all-nighters anymore? Why can't I sit down and just get 3 hours of work done? And so this is like, you're speaking my language here, that, a lot of it is those 10-minute windows. And a lot of it is, like you said, instead of carving out time to get this huge, long project done, it's just, there's 10 minutes here, there's 10 minutes there. And it seems, and I'm still getting used to this new lifestyle change, but it's like, there's less extremes, right? It used to be just wait until the last minute to get this huge project done, and then spend 2 days getting it done, and then the next 3 days be super tired. And now it seems like, with what you're saying of planning ahead and anticipating things and being able to just jump in if there's just that 10 minutes free, it's like, it feels like there's more stability. And there's also seems like, as a byproduct of that, is just being more responsible, even which sounds kind of silly. And again, I don't know if it's having a kid or being older, or if the kid has aged me quicker or something like that. But it used to be if I had a lot of things on my calendar, like meetings, and even being on a podcast with you, so many times I'd say, I have something else that's more important. I'll just flake on that appointment, or cancel that. And lately, especially these last even few months, I've been saying, if I say I'm going to do something, if I have something on the calendar, I'll show up. And there's even been a little bit of like you said, the kid's not talking, or I can't really communicate that well yet. But it's what's begun to creep in is the role model thing of saying well, I don't want to raise a kid that always flakes on his appointment. So why would I myself be this person who's flaky. So it's like there's been a lot of growing up really fast. And I think, and probably with you too, I imagine that like before you had kids, you thought, oh, I'm going to be exactly the same person. And it's such a cliche, but like it changes just so much, I think.
It does. Well, and I have a theory, which is it involves the hierarchy of needs, right? So when we're younger, our hierarchy of needs are different, right? They like, and survival modes feels fun. Like survival mode is this adventure. Like I've got $10 in my pocket and I'm going to go stay in a hostel in this thing, or I'm going to try out this. Everything seems exciting, right? And there's this excitement because the only person you have to protect is yourself. Right. And oftentimes we're not mature enough to know what that, just like your kid, you're like, how are you just about to walk in front of this moving car? How do you not see that there is a moving car there? I've told you 1,000 times. Like, how are you not scared of climbing that tree that I'm in my mind, I'm sure I'm going to be going to the hospital today. We grow up and we just don't have, we are given this space to not have those fears so we can test things out and try things out. When it's just you that you're worried about, then all of those things seem fun. And so the adventure, the staying up late, it all just seems like part of this survival that you're in. And once we have kids, the hierarchy of needs just completely changes because it's our children that we're supposed to make sure survives, that they don't walk off that cliff, that they don't go into the cave with the bear. And what I think you hit the nail on the head is what we start to do is we start to realize, oh my gosh, if I don't get my stuff together, how am I supposed to make sure they survive? You know, if I'm not showing up to things, if I'm not getting up on time, and so you start going, okay, I need to figure out how to manage this better. And your kids make you feel like there's so much disruption and so lack of control because you have the second you start feeling like you know what's happening, there's a growth spurt of some kind, and the chaos happens again. Like just wait, because you'll have 2 naps now. Just wait till you go down to 1 nap. And then us moms joke about when that 1 nap goes away and your kid starts taking a nap and you're like, what am I going to do with myself? You know? And so we have this feeling, and then you start to protect your time fiercely because you have so little of it to yourself, so little of your own space, that you start to relish in routines. You start to relish in these rhythms that you get, and you start to really protect them, because your 10 minutes in the bathroom is the only time you have when somebody doesn't need you. And there's this glorious burden of being needed and loved so much by another human being. I mean, it fills your heart until it wants to explode. And then it's also so insanely frustrating. And those two things butt up against each other on a daily basis. And I think we feel like it's that we're growing up, but I think it's that we're trying to find some kind of tethering back to earth to make it feel like we have control over something, when being a parent is just a whole lot of unpredictableness.
Well, I think that relish in your routine needs to be a sign of put up on the wall somewhere or something like that, because that hits the nail on the head for me. And the wife has been stressing out a lot more than me with the napping. We are down to 1 nap a day, but some days there's none, and it really stresses her out. And even like you said, like sometimes you see this happening in the kid and you say, well, then that kind of reflects back onto me. And like seeing the wife get like super stressed out about the smallest of things it puts things in perspective for me, because, you know, of course I'm the dad, so I'm not going to get as stressed out as the mom is, but it just, I don't know, for some reason, seeing her, and I jump in and do absolutely everything I can, but sometimes she just gets so stressed out, and it makes me somehow less stressed for some reason, just seeing her like get really freaked out over the smallest of things. And I think like, okay, well then I can like consciously make myself not as stressed out. And so there's a lot to think about there, especially about like the time management aspect of things. But I'm really curious, and I want to make sure that we have time to talk about you and your business and what you do to make money. Because it's easy to say have a schedule and drop the kids off, but at some point we have to pay the bills. So what is your business about, and what has you excited about it lately?
Yeah. So, and honestly, the funny part is I'm a marketer, content strategy, messaging, positioning. That's been my area of expertise for 10, 15 years. And because I had kids and I felt this disruption, I'm a driven human being who likes to get things done. So throw kids in the mix and I am driven to be a good parent, which means I want to read, I want to understand, I want to figure out how to do the things that are going to make my kids the kind of adults that I want to come home for Christmas, right? Like that I actually want to hang out with. So I want to do that well. And then I have my business I want to run and there's all these things. And then, like you said, I used to stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning when something needed to get done. And now it's 11 o'clock and I can barely keep my eyes open. And it starts to weigh on you. So I ended up writing a book back in 2015 called Boss Mom. And it was the ultimate guide to raising your business and nurturing your family like a pro. We're actually working on a revised version of it right now. And I wrote it because I felt this need to say, look, we can do both. There is a way to not feel guilty about it. So it's funny that my positioning ended up niching me like into this space about parents. So I end up talking a lot about parenting, but I tell everybody, like, I don't have a parenting psychology degree. I just like what was it? I used to say, or I don't have this, but I stayed at a Hilton last night, commercial they used to have. It's like, but I have a lot of friends, a Holiday Inn, but I have a lot of friends that are psychologists and psychiatrists. So I have a lot of people that pay me to learn about their businesses, which is amazing. But so I wrote Boss Mom. We started the Boss Mom community. We just hit, I think, 62,000 in the Facebook group that we get about 200 people a day joining. We just relaunched our local meetups. But we have them in 50 different cities, in the United States and abroad. And that is continuing to grow every day. And so all of that community comes in, and then our Nurture to Convert Society. I've done many things over the last 6 years in turn, group coaching programs. We've had large retreat events and things like that. But we've narrowed it down to our Nurture to Convert Society, which is a business growth membership for mom entrepreneurs, specifically built to show them how to build evergreen systems. I'm an anti-launch person. The second you're going to do something live and you're a mom, a kid gets sick or something, like the universe knows, and it just messes everything up. And so we show them how to build an evergreen systems that have funnels and have built in a salesperson into your email system so that they can actually have freed up time instead of growing your business, adding more time. And that is our core product. We don't sell anything else. We have a few little one-offs that we funnel in, but for the most part, we put everybody into that system. And then the revenue comes in from monthly members, from annual pass members, and from lifetime members. And our goal, we treat it like software, is to templatize it as much as humanly possible, so that everybody's life is easier. My goal is to make moms' lives easier, because most people aren't an expert in marketing. Most people are an expert in something, and they feel like they have to understand marketing in order to make money. And I want to take that out so that the women that I deal with that help you have a better relationship with your child, that help you get past codependency, that help you get past a divorce. Or there's one of the women in our community that helps women who are caregivers of their spouse when their spouses are sick. Like, there's so many amazing things that these women and men are doing, and they need to be able to do the marketing without thinking. And so that's what we've created. And we have so much more planned over the next 5 years, but that's what we've built our revenue on, and it works pretty well.
Well, that sounds exciting. And as usual with these answers you're giving, there's so much to take in. And I'm like, okay, which of the 20 little sub answers that you gave me do we dive into? But it's great. It gives me choices. But I really like how it seems like you said, you're like a positioning, branding person. It seems like you live what you teach. You put a lot of your personality into your business. You have fun with what you're doing, which I imagine is inspiring for these other moms who join your group, and they say, well, cool, she's done it, I can do it as well. And also what I like about the way that you've set this up here is, like, you always hear about kind of like drawing a fence around what you do and saying, we don't do this, we don't do that. And so that's kind of just interesting to think about how you say, we don't do launches, and we don't like build up to this big, huge, this one day or this one moment, because as a mom or as a parent, like that won't work. There'll be something else that gets thrown into the mix. Mm-hmm. And so you say, okay, we've got so many things happening, and we're so organized, and we have all these things planned, that you have 200 people flowing into the Facebook group every day, so that way it's just the trains are running on time. So that's reassuring, and it's a lot to think about. And you listed off how there are these different people in your group, right? There's like the caregiver person, codependency person, divorce person. So out of those, is there one specific person and story that you feel like sharing with us today? One person where there was like some kind of transformation that happened, where they came to you and they joined your group and things just were not great, and they applied your secret sauce, and then everything was fantastic moving forward. Anything like that come to mind?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we have them all day long, which I absolutely love. But yeah, one is a wonderful woman, Melissa, and she actually helps women who take care of foster children and adopt. And so she goes in and she helps them understand how to deal with foster children, and then how to go through the process of adoption through there. So there's this really beautifulness and necessity as somebody who loves the idea. And I don't believe I could, I'm like you, like 2 kids is more than I could possibly handle. I don't think I could ever have foster children. That's just something that I'm not, I think, like emotionally capable of doing. But the fact that I get to facilitate helping somebody do their job better. So she started implementing our system. So most of her time was being spent before she came to us and joined the society, selling, right? Most of her time, instead of helping, most of her time was spent selling. So it was trying to find the right people, trying to go out there. So she started doing our system, and we have a system of the way we help you build buzz through good questions. So we show you how to and sort of pull your ideal client out of social media by asking really good questions. I have a journalism background, so we show you how to do that. And then we show you how to get them into your system. We show you how to build community, if that makes sense for your industry. And then we show you how to build the back end. We call them the 90-day nurture system. We use something called permission sandwiches to nurture them into a sale in a way that isn't, the email them every day, tell them there's always this, that like doing a lot of pushiness, which women have a hard time with anyway. So she just posted in the group, I want to say maybe a month ago, and just said she had her first 10K month, not working any more time. In fact, she works less time, and she gets to actually help more, do more of what she loves, because the system does the nurturing and the selling for her. So her only job is to market research and connect with her audience and go out and build buzz, and then to deliver. And so we take all the middle part out of the becoming known, and then the serving your clients, and all the middle part of figuring out how to get them to actually buy from you. We take all of that out and simplify it so that she gets to engage in a way that's fulfilling, and then deliver in a way that's fulfilling. And the rest we help her automate, and in a way that still feels really authentic to her. And yeah, so that's just one example of a lot of what we try to work for the members we have.
Well, sounds super cool. And you tapped into something that it's been frustrating for me the last so many years. Of it seems like and again, it's another cliche here. It seems like the men market one way and the women market some other way. And it's like the men are super like bros and pushy, at least a lot of the ones I come across. And then the women are like not pushy enough. And like they don't have a plan. They don't have a system like you share. So I think this is really needed to kind of meet in the middle somewhere of, like you said, where especially if you're a woman trying to sell and selling to women, sometimes that just does psychologically, it just doesn't hit right. And then if you go and try to apply like all these systems and all these funnels and all this stuff with the conversion rate, email 3 times a day, it's like that's not a solution either. So it seems like this is kind of in some ways kind of like merging the two worlds and figuring out what works and what doesn't. And so that's it's cool to think about in order to get us to where we need to go. And so as we are kind of approaching more of the tail end of our conversation here, do you see a number one mistake in your industry and all these people that you're dealing with, like a number one mistake that's so easily fixed that if people could just get out of their own way and not do this one thing, everything would be better? I know we already talked about things like systems and trying to not focus so much on selling, but is there just like a number one mistake that just drives you crazy?
Oh my God. A number one. Oh, I actually have a training that is called the 7 mistakes boss mom make that ends up draining their time, their energy, and their money. So I've got 7, but I will pick one for you. I think one of the this is me. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make that's very frustrating, and social media makes everybody feel like they need to do this, is they confuse the market by putting content out for the sake of content. So what everybody tells you is consistency is key, but consistently putting out confusing information, it just ruins the ability for you to make sales. So what they do is they go, oh, well, I put on an outfit this morning, so I'm going to go on social media and I'm going to show everybody my outfit. But what they're not teaching you how to wear clothes. They're not doing any of those things. They want to, design your website. And then they go on and they're like, well, let me share this article that my competitor did. And let me do all these things. And so we go out and we are told to be consistent. And so we are consistently murky in what we tell. The amount of times I've interacted with somebody and I cannot for the life of me figure out what they sell or what they do. And so that becomes a problem. And so the solution to that is repetition. I want consistency of messaging, not consistency of content. And I think that's really important because I know people that have put out a blog every single week for the last 6 years and make no money. I know people that have been on Instagram, they've even built a following and they're consistently on stories and they make no money, right? Consistency of content doesn't mean anything unless you have consistency of messaging. And so I tell people, stop quoting other people and start becoming quotable. The progression is you are seen, which means you're out there and people will forget you just as quickly as they saw you. You're noticed, which means they recognize you. So you're at least being out there enough and consistent enough for them to recognize who you are and what you stand for. And then being known is where they actually tell people about you and they have your products on their bucket list and they're in your email and they're constantly saying, oh, that's a Danaism, or yes, that's what Boss Mom stands for. And so that consistency of messaging is key. Stop just posting stuff. Stop being consistent in the content that you create in a way that you're constantly trying to figure out new ways and new things to talk about. And so then you just start getting farther and farther away from the key concepts and opinions and products that you are trying and problems that you're trying to solve, and start being consistent and just staying in. I would rather you have 5 pieces of content you talk about all the time than consistently making something new all the time. And the people that you see doing it consistently and making money, it's because they built the back end systems first. So it's stop quoting people and be quotable to fix that problem. And the other one is, let me see if I can say this right, is stop saying different things to the same people and start saying the same thing to different people. And that solves
I like
the
that
problem.
a lot. That's huge. And you're making me notice so many different things. Like I used to know a guy way before there was even social media who would just do when article marketing was a thing, and he'd write 3 articles a day and he was so proud of it. But then after a few months, he was talking about taking a walk and seeing plants off of the sidewalk. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're going so far off the beaten path. And you're so right that there's that kind of natural tendency to, I don't know if it's being lazy or shy or sluggish or just kind of hiding in your little tiny hidey hole and just talking to the same people and then saying different things, as opposed to having the same messaging or consistent messaging to this wider group of people, which maybe is a little bit scary, a little bit getting outside of our comfort zone, but otherwise, what the heck are you doing, right? Otherwise, you're not really marketing if you're just being content with just that same little group of people all the time. So this is deep, this is powerful. These are things we all need to be thinking about and applying, because a kind of a common theme in our conversation here, it seems like, is that we can't get more time, and we might even have less time than we had before. And it seems like with your success stories here, people have been getting more success and putting in less time. So it's not a matter of more time or trying harder. It's just being smarter with our work and like kind of having a better strategy and, having better focus and having the focus in instead of being over here, have it be over there. And so we need people like you. We need people like your community. So can you tell us about it? Can you tell us, if people are dazzled and amazed by our conversation today, what's the next step here? Where do we go?
Yeah, absolutely. And before I tell you that, by the way, you reminded me, I was just finishing up reading, I think it's Greg McGowan. He wrote Essentialism and he just came out with Effortless. And he talks about like residual results. And that's what we're talking about, is the idea that parenting is hard, business is hard, but hard isn't bad, right? And if we understand how to leverage what we're doing, then we can get residual results, which means we keep getting results without putting in more effort. That's what scaling is. Scaling, you can't say your business is scaling unless you don't have to do as much in order to grow bigger, Like that's otherwise you're just growing. Growing and scaling are two different things. So you want to be able to scale, which means you can get larger with a very measurable increment of effort along the way. So you can find us though at boss-mom.com, and that leads you to our Facebook community. It leads you to the Boss Mom podcast. We're just about to hit our 500th episode. It's a lot of episodes. I've got 3 books, so it'll show you where our Boss Mom book is. My last book, Climb Your Own Ladder, which shows you the stages of how you're growing your business, so that in the beginning you don't beat yourself up about not being the CEO of your own business when you're really the intern because you're starting out. And it shows you our meetups, which we've just relaunched, and all of that fun stuff, as well as a lot of resources, our, trainings we have a training on how to structure your time. We have a training on the 7 mistakes. And it's a really vibrant community. We have a lot of women where their entire business base and client base, they get from the Boss Mom community, which is pretty awesome.
Well, fantastic. Well, sounds like a place we all need to go sooner rather than later. Right now, while it's still fresh on our mind, don't even wait 30 seconds to go there. Go there right now before this podcast is over, boss-mom.com. And as we finally wrap up, wind down here, Dana, do you have any final words of advice, anything just to leave us with to wrap up this conversation?
Yeah, I was watching this is totally random, but I was watching something that came up on Facebook, a video about somebody that lost 200 pounds. And they made this statement that they said, and I actually put it on my phone so I would see it every morning, but it says, discipline is more important than motivation. I think right now everybody goes, find something you're passionate about. You have to love everything, but ultimately doing good work, like doing the work to raise a kid and not giving up, doing the work to raise a business and not giving up, and having the discipline to continue even when you're not motivated actually creates results that motivates you. So stop putting the cart before the horse and feeling that you have to be motivated in order to take action, and recognize that action creates motivation, and you will succeed because everybody else is waiting to be motivated to do something, and you are going to be light years ahead.
Fantastic. I love it. Let's all think about that as we go to boss-mom.com. Dana Malstaff, glad to see you. boss-mom.com.